Something I think we can do just to like spice it up so it's not so bland is we can add a Haas effect. So this is something that I like to do for like background or secondary elements to give it like an interesting stereo space. And all it really is it's taking the left channel and the right channel and it's just pushing one of the channels back. So the left and the right are slightly different and it creates an interesting stereo space. So I'll show it to you and we can play it with it on and off just to show you the difference. We're gonna add a delay. We're gonna unlink the left and right channels and then we're just gonna click on the sync button. So it turns into time in milliseconds rather than it synced to the BPM of the track. And then we're going to take the left all the way down to 1 millisecond. And then for the right, we're going to take it to 15 milliseconds. Then we'll take the feedback all the way down to 0 and turn the dry wet all the way up. And this is what it sounds like.
Operate.
And if we turn it off,
Operate.
so what it's doing is the feedback is all the way down. So the delay is only going to repeat one time. And if the dry wet is all the way up, you're only going to be listening to what's being fed back from the delay one time. So we have the delay that's pushed back 1 millisecond, which is like hardly noticeable. So we can make this really dramatic. If we push the right delay up to like 1 second, basically you're going to hear on the left channel the vocal happen immediately. And then a second later, you're going to hear it happen on the right.
Operate.
So if we turn this down,
Operate.
and this is how you can get these really interesting stereo effects.
Operate.
So I think 15 milliseconds is a good time because it doesn't sound super drastic, but it creates an interesting stereo effect. So then something we can do, let's add an EQ. And what I want to do is I want to give it like a lo-fi or like telephone filter. So we're just going to cut the lows and cut the highs. And we'll play around with the ranges just until we hear something we like.
Operate. Dominate. Elevate.
So I like doing stuff like this because changing like the tonality, the stereo width of something, and then you play it normally for the pre-drop, it'll give the pre-drop more impact essentially. So let's unsolo the vocals and listen to everything. And something else I think we can add is an echo, just because I want it to be like a little bit more washed out in background. So I'm just going to add standard echo and then turn the dry wet up to about like 35. And then we can turn the reverb up on the echo. Then the last effect I want to add is like a glue compressor. I think we can compress this together and then turn up the overall volume. So that sounds really good to me. Let's listen to it with all the effects off. I think it just helps it sit in the mix so much better. It turns this vocal into more of like a background element, which is great because we want the foreground element to be the actual pre-drop vocal.